Okay, welcome to lesson 25. I'm calling it Element Loop, just for lack of a better title. I need to keep my titles short so I can fit them on my cards on YouTube. I don't like to have long titles. Anyway, so here's what we're going to build. It's going to build 5 squares here, and notice the red is changing values. It's a pretty simple program actually, so it should be pretty short. So here's the basic HTML, and we got a tiny bit of script here. Notice we don't have any CSS, and actually we don't really have anything inside our body except for a little bit of script, a little bit of JavaScript. And so get started, pause this, copy this down, and we'll write some more code. Okay, so you notice all we have is some basic HTML, a title, and 2 variables, 2 constants. Number of divs, 5, and size equals 40. So I'm going to write a for loop in order to build these squares here. All right, so I want to create a few squares, so I'm going to use a for loop to do that. For let I equals 0, I less than number of divs, I increment. Let's see, the first thing I'm going to do is create a div element. So I'll say let div equal document create element in quotes div. Okay, I just created a div element, which is an HTML element called div. Remember, we can call this whatever we want. It doesn't have to be called div. In fact, if you're doing a lot of divs, you know, and this was a full-blown program, I might use some other name. Okay, so here I'm going to let red level. So I'm going to create a color equals I plus 1 times size. Okay, let me explain this line here. I'm going to put this in parentheses so it's easier to interpret. So every square is going to have a different red value, and that red value is going to be based on I, the value of I. And here, remember, I starts at 0, and it goes to less than number of divs. Number of divs is 5. And of course, we can make that number of divs anything we want. Now, why am I doing I plus 1 times size as opposed to just I times size? The reason is because if I just use I, the first I would be 0. And that means the red level will be 0, which is black, and I don't want that. So that's why I add 1 to it. Okay, so let's build a color. Okay, let's see, div style, whoops, background color equals quote RGB. Remember RGB? Okay, so whoops, put that in the wrong place. Should be there. Get rid of that one. Okay, so what I did with the color, it's an RGB color, but I am only changing the red level. So this is RGB, G and B are 0, they stay at 0. Okay? And then what else? I think we want to do size. So div style width will equal, let's say, red level plus quotes px, which stands for pixels. And then I'm going to actually copy that, paste it on the next line, change it to height, to spell that right. And then I need to take that div, and I need to say document, whoops, body, append, child, I think that'll work. Let's try this out. Get rid of that extra space. Save that. Open this new element loop here. And we have a problem. So let's pull up our console. View developer JavaScript console. And it's giving us no indication of a problem. So let me examine this. Okay, so the problem was how I wrote the color, or how I defined the color. It needs to be defined this way. RGB, and open parentheses, plus red level, plus, and then in these parentheses, the other two numbers are going to stay at 0. So 0, there should be a comma before this first 0. Okay, and that should do it. Save that. And there we go. So this gets weird looking, I know, using RGB, like, oh, where do I put the quotes and all that? But all we're really doing is separating this red level, which is a variable, and the other numbers are not variables. Okay, it looks awkward sometimes, but it gets easier with experience. Okay, so simple program. What I would do here is play around, change the number of divs, change the size. That'll change all this. You could change the formula for red level. Maybe it's size plus something. Background color. You could put text probably inside the div. That would be interesting. Like div inner text. Maybe put the red level in there or something. So play around with that. I know it's simple, but what I really wanted to show you here was that you can change more than just one variable. We're using red level, but we're also changing the size based on I, which is which square it is, okay? So in other words, the first square I equals 0, the second square I equals 1, etc., etc. So we're using that little formula to dictate the red value and the size. And of course we could change all the colors with that. Okay? Let's play with that, have fun. See you in the next lesson.